No, the title is not clickbait. Guys, trust me, today was crazy. Apple is about to change everything, not just with Macs, but really with the roadmap of how computers work. macOS is getting the biggest changes we've gotten in 20 years since OS X became a thing, and iOS 14 finally catches up to a ton of things that Android has been able to do since day one. I'm Jaime Rivera, and I know that a lot of you are going to want to complain in the comments about this being only an Apple video. There are timestamps in the description, and come on guys, admit it. You guys want to hear this. This is Pocketnow Daily. Alright guys, today we're not going to start with Apple deals, but everything today has to do with Apple, and this was going to be a much longer video, but then we saw the script and it was like too much, so we're going to narrow down a few things at the beginning that are important but not necessarily require its own segment, and then we're going to dive deep into everything that was better than that. I'll give you an example, Home. I love the updates, but again, these weren't major, like stupid little things like light dimming, or cameras now having facial recognition using tags from your photos, or tvOS now having picture-in-picture while you're working out, or even AirPlay support now in 4K. Heck, even privacy updates that tell you what applications are doing with your information, like you get nutrition facts on something you buy, is also epic. But again, I can't go into all of these details because they are too many. We have, I believe, 19 posts on Pocketnow.com with all the details of everything, all listed in the description. For me, one of the things that I like the most is AirPods and their updated software, which I wonder if we're just going to get an AirPodOS at some point. We'll see. For example, now they finally switch automatically between your devices, showing a seamless move without you having to do anything manually. Like for example, if you get a phone call and your audio is already set to the Mac, it'll switch the audio to the phone for you to be able to take it from it without you needing to do anything. There's also a new spatial audio feature which aims to recreate an authentic surround experience, and it does so by using advanced spatial audio algorithms specially designed for AirPods Pro. So yeah, apparently not all of them will have this, but it works even when you're wearing one earbud, and it also tracks your head movement and the fact that you're moving your devices around. There's support for Dolby 5.1, 7.1, Dolby Atmos. It's crazy, I can't wait for it, but apparently you will have to get AirPods Pro. We'll give you more details as soon as they emerge. Now let's move on over to WatchOS, which according to Apple, there are 20,000 applications in the store, out of which I only use one, which pretty much got killed with the fact that we get something like sleep tracking. But bear with me. Let me go into the details, as Apple is finally figuring out ways for you to care about these apps through complications. For example, if you're a runner, you can create a full runner watch face with different applications to focus on your running, and they interact with your watch face. You can share these watch faces or download third-party ones, and even get suggested watch faces from Safari. The workout app is getting new modes, including dancing, core training, and cool down, fundamentals, and more. The Maps now brings you cycling directions and also suggestions, including new shortcuts like routes that include stairs, and it even lets you not have to deal with these. The Activity app also renamed itself to Fitness, and yes guys, finally, sleep tracking is here. It lets you set a time to wind down, go to bed, and then choose a soothing alarm or vibrations to wake up. It tracks your heart rate and breathing patterns while you sleep, and then there's a detailed card of everything and, should I call it sleeping performance, in your iOS application. You can learn more about everything again in the description. Now, we were going to leave iOS 14 as the hottest news, but because macOS and iPadOS are connected to it, we have to detail it first for us to be able to explain the rest. And still, I told you guys, it was just not going to be called iPhone OS. It didn't make sense. But yeah, it now gets some inspiration from Apple Watch applications and complications to create widgets. Like finally, you can either have them on the Today view or as part of the home screen. Oh, and that home screen is changing, sort of. Now there's an app library that automatically organizes your applications with simple ways to navigate, so no more of those crazy list of pages unless you want them, and there's even an easy way to get rid of them, and even sort applications alphabetically, like finally, since you've been able to do it in the app tray on Android. Picture-in-picture finally makes it as well. Again, something you've been seeing on Android for a bit. And it has this way to resize or even throw the video to the background when you don't need it. Phone calls and even Siri now don't take up the entire screen. I'm going to repeat it. pretty much like Android. And there's even a new translation application for up to 11 languages in seamless conversation. Other applications like Messages now look more like WhatsApp groups, and the App Store now gets clips for easier app discovery through searches or NFC. And don't worry, I'm not going to bore you with the changes on Apple Maps, though they're kind of nice. The one I care about most is CarPlay, which now has enhanced options and even better improvements for EVs, and there's even a new car key feature that's coming to 2021 models like the BMW 5 Series coming later this year. It pretty much lets you not just have the key on your phone, but also share keys through iMessage and even control what other people can do with your car. That is really crazy cool. More details on iOS 14 in the links. Now, even if we thought that iPadOS was going to take up a big spotlight, it's pretty much iOS 14 with some enhancements that are focused on the iPad. It's getting a whole lot better, and it has a lot to do with the fact that more apps are becoming more specifically made to the iPad and not necessarily extensions of the iPhone application. And yeah, widgets from iOS 14 are also making it here. And there's this new sidebar UI that's pretty much taking up a lot of the conversation. It works with most applications like Photos, Notes, Files, and as an example, if you're on a Photos application, your photos remain in the center of the display while the sidebar lets you organize them. You can drag and drop photos into the sidebar to move them into folders or categories, and this feature basically makes apps like Files on the iPad way better and more logical to use. Though I kind of think that the sidebar actually began in the Files app. Now moving on to Siri, it will again not take up the entire screen, pretty much like calls do, which also can be presented as cards at the top, letting you answer or swipe or dismiss. iPadOS is getting a new universal search feature, which kind of works like Spotlight Search for the Mac, where it even serves for web searches. And finally, the Apple Pencil also got some major changes, where Apple wants to make handwriting as powerful as typed text. You can now scribble something and get text, and it even helps you align shapes. Guys, the iPad will even be able to tell if you wrote something by hand, you can select it, and then copy it as text in another application. It's really cool. Now let's say hello to macOS Big Sur. Guys, if you've never been to Big Sur, add it to your bucket list. There's a beautiful marathon that happens there every year. I'm hoping it happens this year. I think it already didn't happen. The point being is, go there. It's gorgeous. Thing is, it looks like macOS, but the hottest news today is all about how it's not. Visually, though, there are a ton of design improvements that make it more cohesive with iOS and iPadOS. Apple has a new designer, and we're getting new symbols, depth shading and translucency, and reduced visual complexity for you to focus on work. Buttons are now enhanced only when you call on them, and now we even get new sounds. A major change comes to the taskbar, which now has specific buttons for Notification Center and even Control Center. More like Samsung DeX, by the way. Oh, and those same updates for Messages and Apple Maps come to macOS thanks to Mac Catalyst, which makes it easy to port iPad apps to macOS. Safari also saw a major overhaul, with Apple now claiming 50% faster speeds than Chrome, but we'll have to test that. And we also get a new UI for Safari extensions, a customizable start page, tab UI updates, seamless translation, and more. But guys, seriously, nothing is hotter than the hottest news about how everything all connects. Because yes, the hottest news today have to do with Apple Silicon. Guys, this is major, a lot bigger than it sounds. Just think about the fact that today's event was all shown off on a Mac running on Apple's A12Z processor, which is the same one that we get on the current iPad Pro. It pretty much changes the way computers are going to behave for even powerful applications, and that's the reason why the news is so important. I mean, people have praised Apple for its chips for years, but today we saw the ultimate test as we saw Final Cut Pro 10, Adobe applications like Lightroom and Photoshop, and also Microsoft Office running seamlessly on an ARM-based chip. This will be a 2-year transition where Apple even clarified that we will continue to see Intel-based Macs. Though the thing is, we don't know for how long, but we should see the first ARM-based Mac alongside in the fall. And to not create a development nightmare, Apple created Universal 2, Rosetta 2, and virtualization options to allow developers to easily create an app that runs on both Apple Silicon and Intel-based chips. There's even a special Mac Mini running on that A12Z shipping to developers this week to help them port applications. Guys, we even saw iPhone applications running natively on the Mac without a hiccup, opening the door to any App Store application to run on the Mac, and we're even wondering what's stopping Apple from launching an iPad running macOS now that we saw this whole thing happening. Thing is, let us know in today's question, what do you think was the hottest news? Was it iOS 14 with widgets? Was it Apple Watch with the new workouts features? For me, honestly, it was Apple Silicon because, yes, I know that Apple was not the first. We saw Qualcomm and Microsoft do it with the always connected PC, but that was an emulated version of Windows. This is not. This is full macOS, full Final Cut Pro 10 working on a computer. What does this say about the future of powerful computers? It means we're fully going ARM, and that changes everything from power consumption to the need of fans on a computer. It's going to change the architecture of computers, not just from how they work, but also how they look over time. I think that it's going to be major, things that we're not going to see yet. It's going to take years. But regardless, I'm really happy for what's coming. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Friends, again, if you want to get the news earlier, follow us on Pocketnow.com and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. Also, follow us on social media. Our extended coverage happens on Instagram, and follow me on my personal handles to see me just go crazy with the longest script we've ever written in history. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw. I'm Jaime Rivera. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.